This is your retirement designed differently with financial advisor Billy Voyles. He's the founder of Fundamental Wealth Designs. He has a team of advisors, including himself, to help you be and stay retired. I'm your host, Spike Spangle. Billy Voyles, what do we need to talk about this week?
We're going to go through a series of fact or fiction for the audience today to figure out what can you trust, what's fact, what's fiction out there today.
Oh, man, the financial fact or fiction, there's so much that is misunderstood. There are so many things that even have changed in the industry, so we want to make sure that you, our viewers, have your facts right and you're making the right selections to help yourself be and stay retired. One of the first things I found scouring the internet was a lot of the confusion between a traditional 401k and the newer version of Roth 401k. A lot of folks think they're just the same thing, so they're kind of ignoring it. Traditional and Roth 401k, they're the same thing. They're going to help me get to retirement. Fact or fiction, Billy?
Well, I think that's fiction. And I know that's fiction because one is going to defer your taxes and one is going to pay your taxes now, but then allow it to grow tax-free. And, again, let's dive into some more specifics about what might make sense, which might make sense for one or the other. If your anticipated tax rates are going to be lower in retirement, then doing a tax-deferred 401k or pre-tax traditional 401k might make sense for you. And this could be people, if you're as a couple, earning $300,000, $350,000, you're clear into the, 24% bracket, plus Minnesota state tax at 7%, you're 31% bracket. But in retirement, you plan to live on, $6,000 or $7,000 a month. You're going to go all the way back maybe to 15 or 20% effective tax rates. Then a traditional 401k option could be great for you. Defer some of those taxes you would pay at 30% to take them out later at 15 or 20. That type of scenario could make sense. However, if you're in the scenario where you think, right now you're at a 20 to 25% bracket, and in the future you're going to stay at that 20 to 25% bracket, then it might be in your best interest to just pay those taxes now, allow that asset to grow tax-free, and then distribute those assets later tax-free. Right? There's other benefits of a Roth distribution as well when it comes to Social Security, Medicare, IRMA. There's lots of other sort of, nuances when it comes to that. And that's why we really like to sit down and get into the weeds with people to figure out exactly what the best option for them is.
Do you talk about the Roth 401k in the book that you have so subtly placed on the desk in front of us? Is it worth it for somebody to use a Roth 401k or start to save into a Roth if they're, let's say, in their late 50s, 60s?
Yeah, I absolutely think it's a great option. And because the catch-up contributions also apply to a Roth. So if you're really trying to catch up on retirement, your Roth 401k can be your best friend because those catch-up contributions include the fact that you've now already paid tax. So your $31,000 catch-up in a traditional IRA is great. But your $31,000 catch-up in a Roth IRA is even better because now you've already paid tax. That $31,000 you haven't paid 20% tax on yet is only worth $24,000. That $31,000 you've already paid tax on is worth $31,000. So you save more into a Roth over time. And the whole concept, pay yourself first, if you do it in a Roth 401k, you're paying yourself first more.
And we know that you have to pay your taxes on it in the year that you put it in there.
Yeah.
But to have all of that tax-free growth for your spendability in retirement, it really can make a difference. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25% of spendability, that's a big difference in retirement. So if you'd like to get a complimentary copy of Billy's book, you can call the phone number when it comes up here on the screen, and we will send you a complimentary copy of the book, or when you call that number, schedule an appointment. Come on in. Billy will give you a copy there. He'll probably give you a signed copy of it as well, and we can talk about the strategies in person. I want to continue with some financial fact or fiction today. Let's get as many facts into people's minds as we possibly can. This is one that really bothered me because we've heard the diversification word for a long time. But does diversification alone protect all of your assets in retirement? That's a fact or fiction that I wanted to ask. Diversification across asset classes is enough to protect your investments in retirement.
Well, this one's tough to answer because, it is fiction for sure, but it depends on exactly like what you're meaning by diversification. Because some people think they're actually diversified. And they think that they're diversified because they have multiple different accounts, they have multiple different mutual funds or multiple different index funds. But when we dive in, there really is no true diversification. We have this analysis inside our portfolio analysis tool called correlation. And we look to see inside the actual holdings of your assets, how correlated are you amongst all of your different mutual funds and ETFs or whatever you might hold. And it turns out that a lot of portfolios are very highly correlated, meaning you might have 10 different funds, but the underlying investments are 90% the same. So you think because you have multiple different accounts and multiple different investments that you're diversified, but you're not actually properly diversified.
Have you witnessed this? Again, I know we like to talk in theory, but someone will say, "Oh, don't worry, Billy, we're diversified," and they'll come in and they'll show you not only their accounts but their spouse's accounts.
Yep.
How do you show them that overlap?
Yeah, and we show them through our analysis. We have these multiple tools that we show, and one of the things is that not only are they not diversified in some instances, some of their different taxable types of accounts are all allocated the same way, which for us needs a strategy adjustment. Because again, in previous shows, we've talked about risk tolerance and time sensitivity to risk tolerance. We've had accounts come in where your IRA and your Roth IRA are invested exactly the same. You have the exact same risk tolerance in it. You have the exact same underlying assets in it. You have the exact same, portfolio in an IRA into a Roth IRA. Well, here's the challenge there. You're likely going to spend that IRA money sooner. You're going to need that money sooner, whether it's for tax planning considerations or distributions. And the Roth IRA is likely going to be touched later. And you want the ability for that to grow as fast as possible because of the tax-free benefits. So again, diversifying amongst types of accounts is in addition to the concept of we want to use real different asset classes, not just stocks and bonds, right? Because unfortunately, cash has gone into the market and out of the markets, and on some days, both stocks and bonds are up, but also some days, both stocks and bonds are down. So we want more alternatives in there.
And it leads back to the tax diversification strategies. I started with diversification thinking about investments, and you brought me over to tax strategies, which is why we want to get this book into your hands. Call the phone number you see right here. We'll send you a copy of the book, and if you make an appointment, we can just give you one right there. Billy will go ahead and sign it for you. We'll start you on your Roth conversion strategy, where you're saving into a Roth strategy, or your Roth 401k strategy, to make sure that you're completely diversified in retirement. Call that phone number, More Financial Fact or Fiction, and Billy Voyles, your financial advisor, when we get back right after this.
Is your largest retirement savings account one that you haven't paid taxes on? Like millions of Americans, you've saved into a retirement account that deferred paying taxes until you take the money out years later. One method to save on future taxes is called the Roth conversion. And you could do that right now to save yourself from paying higher taxes in the future. We are currently living during the lowest tax rates of our lifetimes. Would it make sense to pay those taxes now instead of in the future when those tax rates could be higher? Call Fundamental Wealth Designs today to see if doing a Roth conversion from your 401k or IRA account makes sense. This analysis is complimentary for our viewers who are serious about retirement planning. So ask yourself, would you rather pay lower taxes now or higher taxes in the future? Call the phone number you see here to get started right now. Do you think you will spend more money on food or health care in retirement? Do you take your investments out of the stock market now that you're retired? If so, how much? Will your Social Security check be reduced in the future? How do you produce income from your nest egg to fight costs like taxes and inflation? At Fundamental Wealth Designs, we take the guesswork out of retirement planning by designing a written plan that accounts for all of your concerns. The bigger question, am I going to be okay in retirement. Find out the answers to your retirement questions by calling us today at Fundamental Wealth Designs for your retirement designed differently.
Welcome back to Retirement Designed Differently with financial advisor Billy Voyles. Today we are all playing financial fact or fiction and getting as many answers as we can from Billy Voyles. Fact or fiction, once we retire, we don't need as much in life insurance. That makes sense to me. Is that fact or fiction in your opinion?
Yeah, it's probably a fact that you don't need as much life insurance, but we don't want to say it's full fact that you just flat out don't need life insurance. You need it for a different reason. Right? So originally, earlier in life, when you purchase life insurance, it's income protection. Right? It's protecting against the loss of an income of a spouse. It's perhaps to pay off your mortgage, perhaps to provide some additional savings for perhaps college planning for the kids, different reasons, right? But now as you shift to retirement, one of these things can happen where you're doing it for two reasons. You're still doing it for income protection, but you're not protecting salary-based income. You're protecting against the loss of income from Social Security. So a lot of people are worried about Social Security going away when the government, when the trust runs out and all of a sudden you're going to reduce your payments. But in fact, your Social Security is going to go away when one of the spouse passes. One of those Social Security payments is just going to disappear and no longer continue. And if it happens early in retirement, it has a drastic impact on your retirement plan. Let's walk through some numbers. So if one spouse gets $3,000 a month and the other spouse gets $2,000 a month, that's $5,000 a month in income. At the death of the first spouse, that couple will lose $24,000 of income per year out of their plan. Say that spouse was supposed to live another 15, 20 years, say 20 years, right? That's $560,000 that is out of the retirement plan now. How do you make up for losing a lost income of $560,000? Now, I don't think you need to make up for the entire amount, but having a life insurance plan in for part of it is one way to take care of it. The other aspect of it is this tax-free inheritance strategy. This tax-free inheritance strategy through life insurance is a fantastic tool in order to leave a tax-free asset to your heirs. And you can also avoid probate and do some estate planning with life insurance. So it's not to be ignored, it's just for different reasons.
Such a complete answer. I really appreciate that because I was really thinking, life insurance is for replacement needs while people are working and you've got 4 kids like yourself and business to run. So it's not a poor investment through your life. Now, there's term insurance, and that's money paid in, and that's it's usually less expensive, and then that goes away. So if you have used insurance tools, can you possibly rework them, especially if you have equity into them? Can you change them into a different kind of insurance tool?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have a client that just came on board, and a lot of you are out there, and it's these different companies that you've purchased your life insurance your whole life, these plans that you might have had for 20 or 30 years. And if the cash value in these plans is not that different from the death benefit, and let me give you a specific example. This client came in 64 years old. The current cash value in his life insurance plan was right around $60,000, which is great. $60,000 of cash value. His death benefit in this case was about $100,000. So the corridor that we talk about between what's the death benefit and what's your cash value, that's really the only insurance you're paying for. That was only $40,000. But he was still paying in these premiums that were far in excess of what it would cost to buy him $40,000. So we talk about efficiency. That is an inefficient life plan for him now. So we need to address that. We need to address the inefficiency in that particular life plan. What are our options? We can take that old life insurance plan and do what's called a 1035 exchange and exchange it for a new life insurance plan. Now, we need to examine his health. We need to make sure he can get a new policy. We need to do all the diligence and details and make sure that that new policy is in his best interest. But in this case, we could take that $60,000 and instead of leaving $100,000 to his kids, he could be leaving $220,000, more than double the inheritance that he can leave behind by doing nothing else.
What this reminds me of is when you were talking about a great metaphor, analogy of playing golf, is that we can't use a driver for everything down, especially on a par 5. And if life is going to be a par 5, that we're going to live really long, we can't keep swinging away with this driver.
Yeah.
So your driver could have been a life insurance tool that helped protect during your working years, but now we need to go exchange that club for something else in the bag.
Yeah.
And are there extreme costs to doing something like a 1035 exchange?
Yeah, there are no costs to doing so, and really, you're updating it, right? There are developments, back to the driver, right? This isn't a persimmon driver, right? Today's drivers are much more advanced. They have much more features and benefits available. One of the aspects of new life insurance plans is actually you can use your own death benefit to help pay for long-term care costs. You can access the cash value in a life insurance for tax-free income planning for yourself. This is one of those areas that people will sort of overdo it, though. They'll think that this is the best thing since sliced bread. You should put all of your money into these, bank on yourself plans. That's not where we're headed with this. The appropriate amount, structured for purpose, structured for the right reasons. But again, if you have one of those old life insurance plans and you're wondering, could it be better? That's the type of analysis we can do. But again, you're not just going to get one piece. You're going to get the whole picture.
Maybe for the viewers, really quick, we'll talk about the retirement design. I'll let you do that. But you could maybe explain what your perspective is at being an independent fiduciary advisor.
Yeah.
You are not looking to sell or pitch somebody life insurance. You're looking to see what tools do they have, what tools do they not have, what's their investment strategy, how do we build income. You're independent of any of the companies, correct?
Absolutely. We have nobody looking over our shoulder telling us what to do. We have nobody that's
besides
going
the SEC.
Yeah, right, yes. They're guiding us in the right direction from compliance. But we're making sure we're out there. We have multiple different partners where we can go out and source the absolute best life insurance plan for you, long-term care plan for you, portfolio manager for you. Being independent allows us to really do what we want to do, which is design a retirement specifically for you and do what's in your best interest. As a fiduciary, we are required to do what's in your best interest. But how we're going to do this is we have to do this through a very defined process. We got to do a lot of digging to figure out where you're at today. And that's what our foundation meeting is about. Our foundation meeting is a sit down between us and you and figuring out who you are, giving you the time to ask who we are, right? Figuring out what your future goals are, what retirement looks like for you, where do you want to live, when do you want to retire, what are your target dates, and go through all these questions to really dive deep into figuring out what your purpose is going to be in retirement. And then we look at your assets and we look at your investments to figure out where they're at today, how much risk you're taking, what are your underlying fees in your portfolio that we need to pay attention to. And then we take the time behind the scenes to walk through about a 2-week period where we're going to build your retirement design differently. And then we get back together. There are no decisions made on the first meeting. There's no products sold on the first meeting. The first hour is really a get to know you and see if we can help you. Do we like you? Do we want to take the next step forward with you? If an hour of your time is worth it to figure out if your retirement is on track, pick up the phone today and give us a call. We have a team standing by to schedule you either in Mendota Heights, North Oaks, Stillwater offices. The number is 888-379-1846. Again, that's 888-379-1846. We'll see you soon.
Your retirement design, it's a process. It's not a product. When you call the phone number, we're going to schedule an appointment so you can come in. It's not just something we're going to send out in the mail and say, oh, here's your pamphlet, or here's your book, or here's your retirement design. Your retirement design is a process for you, and it's no cost for our viewers. As Billy said, call that phone number, scan this QR code over here, schedule your appointment. We'll be right back with more Financial Fact or Fiction right after this.
Social Security is easy, right? The question is, should I take it now or later? Well, there are dozens and dozens of ways to take Social Security if you're single, and even more if you're married. The decisions you make can also impact how much you pay in taxes. You've paid into it for decades. Don't you want to make sure you optimize your retirement income? you could increase your income by tens of thousands of dollars just by being informed. Unfortunately, the Social Security office is not allowed to give you financial planning advice. There are thousands of online calculators that will tell you how much you will receive from Social Security. Now, you need to build that into a retirement income plan with the rest of your assets. Get your own tailored retirement income and Social Security strategy with us here at Fundamental Wealth Designs. Do you own an annuity? Are you aware of what type of annuity you own? For years, annuities have been a cornerstone of retirement planning, but they're not all created equal. And your current annuity might not be serving your retirement goals. The good news is, rising interest rates could mean better guarantees and better benefits for your annuity. If your annuity is not working for you, when would you like to know? Call now for your complimentary annuity review.
Welcome back to Retirement Design Differently with financial advisor Billy Voyles. He's the founder of Fundamental Wealth Designs. I'm Spike Spangle. Today we're playing a little bit of financial fact or fiction, trying to get you as many answers from Billy as we possibly can. One of the fact or fictions, and I kind of got this from one of those other radio shows and TV shows that we see out there. This group always says you got to be debt-free heading into retirement. Sounds very reasonable to me, but for you, fact or fiction, is this a priority?
And I want to get a little bit more specific, and because this is the thing that comes up the most, the question, should I pay off my mortgage?
Oh, yeah.
Fact or fiction? Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a great sort of thing to address today. And should you pay off your mortgage? You know, and again, we're going to go back to it depends, right? It depends on, current interest rates, on where you're at. But that's what we want to talk about today.
And this is a huge question because people will say or think to themselves, well, maybe I should cash out a little bit of that 401k, or I'm about to retire. I'm going to roll it over anyways. Let's get that $20,000 or $10,000 off the balance sheet, or however many payments you have left, taking from an investment account to pay off the mortgage just to call yourself debt-free. Is that a mistake, or is that a good strategy? It's like, hey, let's get rid of that mortgage.
Yeah, so we talk about with our clients, we talk about two different areas, right? There's the math, and then there's the emotions behind it. So we educate and inform and empower our clients to then make a decision by going through the math and the scenario, like this is how it's going to affect you mathematically and financially. And then talking through also, how are you going to feel emotionally about being debt-free and having that mortgage paid off? It's a twofold decision. It's not just as simple as the math. The math is very easy, really. By the time we do the math, it's like, what's your interest rate? If you're at a 2.75%, mortgage rate, the math is usually going to tell us don't pay it off. Right?
Because you could be making 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%.
Risk-free rate is 4.5% right now. So, that tells us even after taxes, we're net positive. So from a math standpoint, it says don't pay off the mortgage. Once you get into 4, 4.5, 5% mortgage rates, the math changes a little bit, right? And that it might be even mathematically beneficial to also pay off the mortgage, because we want to compare it to paying off to what risk-free rates we can earn. Because paying down the mortgage and paying down any debt, if you pay down a debt that you're paying a certain loan rate on, we consider it that that's paying off a guaranteed rate. So if you can earn a guaranteed rate that's higher, then you'd be net positive from a math perspective. But we did have a client that came in. And I don't remember the exact interest rate that she was at, but I think she was around, 3.5% to 4% from a mortgage rate. The math was maybe skewed a little bit in the, keep it. But from an emotional perspective, she just was going to feel so relieved in paying off that mortgage. But she had multiple accounts that we had to look at to figure out what was the best way to pay it off. And if we had taken all an IRA balance out and taken, said, $45,000 to $50,000, paid taxes to then net that $35,000 to pay off her mortgage, it would have had a drastically negative tax impact for her. So not only, should we pay off the mortgage, but what account should we use in order to pay off that mortgage? We actually took some IRA money out, but we did it to the top. We didn't want to pay more than 12% taxes. And then we took some excess taxable account, cash checking savings accounts in order to pay the rest. And then that way it was a tax efficient pay down of the mortgage at the same time. But, she happened to do so well with us 23, 24 that, the investments performed well, and they happened to do, they were earnings, that she essentially said, like, if I pay it off, I'll be back to where I was, and then I'll have a mortgage paid off. This would be a fantastic scenario to be in. And it was really cool to see, her ability to just pay down this mortgage, pay it off. And again, it's math, but it's also the emotions and how it's going to make you feel.
And we totally get that. But if somebody can just make sure that you're checking and you're having somebody, the viewers out there, double check the math for you, because it is very much a big emotional decision. Of course, we'd like to have the monkey off our back of paying that mortgage. But if you could actually have a little bit of that net asset growing, beating what you're paying in the mortgage rate, maybe we want to make sure, just double checking on the math on that. These kinds of decisions, and we've been playing some financial fact or fiction today, many of the things that we've talked about. Is being the debt-free, is that well, there's good debt and bad debt. That's where I was going to go with it. We do want to pay off, obviously, the credit cards.
Yeah, high interest debt, we want to get rid of it. That's an absolute fact. And the final fact or fiction for everybody to sort of figure out is, should you work with a financial advisor, right? I mean, should you work with that's a fact in retirement, especially in retirement. If you're 25 or 30 years old and you're just looking for the biggest investment returns possible, right? And maybe you don't need a financial advisor at that point in time. But when you're 60, 61, 62, 65 years old, and the complications of retirement you're faced with, when you're faced with complications over all these different accounts, how am I going to withdraw these for income? How am I going to mitigate my taxes in retirement? What type of estate planning should I, prepare for? What type of health care plans and long-term care plans should I need? This is very complicated stuff, and we're here to help you, guide you through your retirement, to help you retire with confidence. So give us a call, 888-379-1846. We look forward to sitting down with you.
Get your own no-cost retirement design started right now. Your process for being and staying retired. Call that phone number. Thank you so much for watching Retirement Design Differently with Billy Voyles. We'll be back next week.